Taylor left the party that night.
Taylor is your...
It's my daughter, and she was killed.
We want you to be safe, have a good time, but above all, make sure that you're safe and that you don't impede the community's safety by having this party.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of City Law, City Justice. I'm Officer Dave Northway, your host, and today we are talking about open house parties or large gatherings of people in general. Joining me now are my first two guests, Sergeant Dave McCraney and Sergeant George Creamer of the Tallahassee Police Department. Thanks for being here, guys.
Dave, thanks for having us.
Appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know one of you works overnights. Mr. McCraney works midnights. You go into work at 9 o'clock at night and work until 7 o'clock in the morning.
That's correct.
So right now you're supposed to be in deep sleep.
Absolutely.
And Sergeant Creamer, you're working afternoon squad, which again is, tell us what time that is for us.
4 p.m. till 2 a.m.
So you should be sleeping right now, basically, as well.
Generally, yes.
So thanks again for being here. I really appreciate that. So TPD has been responding to party calls for a long time, or noise complaints, large groups of people. Let's talk a little bit about how we see the way it works out. Mr. McCraney, how do you see us as a department handling those groups?
Well, it's all about planning. What's different than a party at someone's house, a college student's house, as opposed to an FSU football game, a FAMU football game, or a downtown get-down? It's all in the planning. Everyone wants to have fun. We want you to have fun. We don't want to make arrests. We just want you to be safe, and it's all about the planning. If you plan well, things will go well, and that's what we see in the college setting is that there is no planning. There is no security measure. There is no exit point, and there's nothing there to stop people from drinking and driving.
Very, very true, and all good points. And both of you supervise squads of officers. How many do you have on your squad?
I have 8 on my squad.
And Sergeant Creamer?
8 on mine as well.
So when you go into a party situation, you only have a set amount of resources that you can use. And it's also a training squad. So you have officers that you're trying to train to become police officers, the field training officers, in other words.
Absolutely.
When you go into a situation, let's take a house, for example, it gets out of control, you get 800 plus people at a house. What is TPD's main goal with that party?
When it comes time to shut it down, to close it down, it's safety. It's always safety first. Whenever you have that many people, you have vehicles too. You got blocked roadways, which makes it difficult for us to get in there. You have large groups of people that have to find a way out of that neighborhood. So we've got to find a way of first keeping it from getting larger and then start to ease it and close it and get the folks out of there without anyone becoming injured, without trying to prevent the DUIs at the same time. And then get to the homeowner themselves so we can deal with what's going on inside the house.
Right. In dealing with what's going on inside the house, Sergeant McCraney, when we've gotten everybody, let's say we've gotten everybody out of there, the roadways are now clear, everybody's gone, we get to the homeowner, what are we going to do once we get a hold of that homeowner and talk to him? What's our main goal of that conversation?
Well, it's education. Again, planning. We want you to be safe, have a good time, but above all, make sure that you're safe and that you don't impede the community's safety by having this party. Just the other night I went to a party that probably had 15, 20 people at it, but it was across the street from a mother and a father who had 2 small children. One of the children was sick. They hadn't had much sleep, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and they call us for help because the party's too loud. Now, we were able to mediate that, and the person that had the party was cooperative and shut the party down. Years ago, and Sergeant Creamer can speak to this, we had something called the Party Patrol. We had a squad of officers dedicated this time of year during football season to do nothing but go to parties. And what they would do is disorderly conduct. We'd arrest the person who was having the party for having it too loud, but we had to observe it and we had to have a complainant. That law has recently been, if you would, diminished and taken away from us, that tool. So what we rely on now is cooperation between not only law enforcement but the person having the party. Now, Sergeant Creamer will tell you, we also have other things that we can do, peripherals, which will be parking violations, underage drinking, open house parties. So there's still tools available, but they're a little more difficult to shut parties down with.
Right, it sounds like more education of the people of what's going on now instead of enforcement of the laws. We're trying to talk to our community and form partnerships with them, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we try to tell homeowners is you go to a club and you have a parking lot. You have large roads and access. There's things that before a club can open, they have to deal with different agencies and different departments in the city to make sure it's safe for people to come and go. A resident's not built that way. A neighborhood's not built that way. They have a driveway. They have neighbors. Access in and out of the houses, doors open inwards as opposed to outwards. There's a lot of safety concerns. So trying to get to the homeowner and explain to them that you can't run your residence like a bar or a business. Your neighborhood's just not set up to handle that safely.
It's a very good point, very good point. And now let's talk about let's move away from the neighborhoods and let's talk about that that party that starts up that most people don't realize happen, the parking lot. It's a weekend, a game weekend, something like that, and all of a sudden the parking lot of 123 Main Street turns into 500 people, 500 plus people, and the business owners are complaining because no one can get to their stores. How do we work with that type of a crowd as opposed to a house party?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Social media has changed the way parties develop. In the past, people would advertise, whether it be on television, on radio, or even just posters on telephone poles. Now they can get online, tweet, let's have a party here, and all of a sudden, Sergeant Kramer speak to it, we suddenly have 500 people at a location that was totally unprepared for such volume of traffic and the number of people. And what's associated with it are crimes. I looked at 2002 versus 2012 UCR reporting. Sergeant Kramer and I sat down and said, what do we get from these parties other than just loud noise? Well, we get assaults, and we get sexual batteries, and we get DUIs. In 2012, there were a total of 1,073 assaults. In 2012, there were 930, which is about a 13% reduction. Sexual batteries in 2002, there were 151, and in 2012, there were 115, which is a 24% reduction. So what we extrapolate from that is the fact that because we've partnered with the community, not only the business community, but with the colleges, we've been able to reduce some of the crime that occur as a result of having the party and overindulgence in alcohol.
Right, so the more we educate our community, again, coming back to that word, that key word, education, we're here as a tool to educate the community as to why the reasons are that we as police officers say you can't gather in large numbers like this unless you have a plan like you went back to in place. Very, very good ideas. Obviously working, it sounds like, as well, which is the most important thing. So we're starting to wrap up this segment here. Is there anything that we're missing that we haven't talked about that you wanted to make sure that our listeners or our viewers saw this evening?
Well, the main thing is that when we respond to these parties, the folks that are attending them, and generally everybody's very cooperative with us, but the main thing to understand is that we're there because we got called there. We're there to handle a situation that's maybe the folks that are there don't realize it, but it's not safe for them. So feel free to speak to a police officer when they arrive. But please listen to the directions that we're giving. It's just one night. It's not worth going to jail and ruining into the next morning, which was really a couple hours of your life. There's always the next night, next party. So please just cooperate with us. Allow us to finish what we're dealing with there so we can move on to other things and other crimes and other calls that we have to get to.
Excellent. All great advice. Sergeant McCraney, anything you want to add?
Back to planning. The City of Tallahassee and FSU and FAMU have done such a wonderful job of planning Gain Street, the revitalization of that community, and bringing all the college students to a location where they can walk to places and have fun and reduce the chance of alcohol and driving and having accidents that result in fatality. So just a great job of planning by the community itself.
Excellent. All excellent information. I know we only have a short amount of time. I know we're keeping you from your sleep. I thank you both for coming in. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
And we'll be right back on City Law, City Justice.
Until all our daughters are safe. Until all our children have families. Until all our families have homes. Until all our parents are cared for. We'll be here.
Hello, and welcome back to City Law, City Justice. Today we're talking about open house parties and how large groups can affect an area and some of the problems that can come from it, and also some of the educational processes that we're using at TPD. Joining me now, we have Officer Rochelle Denmark and Officer Scott Beck. Thanks both for coming in today and giving us some of your information.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So Scott, let's start with you today about where you work. Tell our viewers where you work, first of all, and what your main objective is when it comes to parties or open house parties.
Well, I'm assigned with the Community Relations Unit, and what that is we like to build a partnership with the community and with the residents and businesses. And what we will do is we'll educate the residents, if you're going to host a party, the proper procedure for planning and preparing to have that party. There are things that you need to prepare for as far as security and parking for your guests, and to have only guests that you know in your house, so that you don't become a victim of a crime, and some things that you need to plan for advance of that party.
And that's a good point that you bring up about the idea of having guests in your house that you don't know and becoming a victim of a crime. Most people think, I'm having people over on Saturday night, it'll be great. Hey, bring your friends. Let's get as many people as we can there to have a good time. But that can lead to some problems for people if the person that you're bringing into your home is not someone who's on the up and up. What are some of the crimes that we see associated with parties like that?
Anytime you have a large gathering of people and you have alcohol consumption, sometimes your decisions are not the best, and you may become a victim of a battery, or you may become a victim of a theft. You want to hide your valuables, maybe even get them out of the house. Just make sure that you don't become a victim of a crime. There's some things that you can do ahead of time.
And things that are very easy to take are going to be the focus, cell phones, watches, jewelry, things like that, things that you can literally pick up, put them in your pocket and walk out and no one knows they're there. They're probably not going to walk out with your big screen TV.
Absolutely.
But they certainly may walk out with your, your brand new iPhone or your brand new watch, whatever that would be.
Right, and you may not know who you're bringing into your house. They may be looking at your house to come back later when you're not there for the big screen TV. So just be aware of that too.
Very good point. That may be a way for burglars to get into your house later on to case it, and they go back and say, hey, this house has such and such. We need to hit that. I was talking to the owner, and they say they work Monday through Friday. They're gone these hours. There was no dog in the house. There was no alarm system. There was an alarm system. All that information can be gathered while you're at a party.
Absolutely.
Ms. Denmark, so you're working afternoon shift.
Yes.
And tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis. Where's your position in the police department?
I am assigned to the Target Enforcement Squad. That is a part of Patrol Division with the Tallahassee Police Department, and basically we are targeting high crime areas, specific crimes that occur within the city. A little more than your average, a theft that occurs or something, more robberies, burglaries, anything that we can do to basically help patrol the regular patrol, squads that are responding to calls for service, and take some of the weight off of their backs, so that we can catch the people that are actually doing the crimes, and being more proactive than reactive to these crimes that are occurring, and trying to be in the areas with high visibility, deterring the quote unquote bad guys from doing something within a specific area.
And so, relating your job as it sees parties or large gatherings of people, you guys would be utilized if there was that need to do so.
That's absolutely correct, and I've been part of Patrol Division here, and just answering calls for service, as well as being Target Enforcement Squad. Parties and large gatherings where there's alcohol, a lot of people, that's just basically a magnet for criminal activity, because you have a variety of things that can happen during those large gatherings.
And I think when we say the word parties, people tend to think of small, intimate gatherings at their house, a birthday party, a family party, even a college party. You get 75, 100 people. But this, just recently with the football season going on, we will respond as a police department to parties or areas of the city where there are hundreds of people in one area that all don't know each other. They just got there through social media or through, they went to the club and the club closed down and they all decided to go somewhere else in the middle of the night. They've all been drinking, or not all of them, but the majority of them have been drinking alcohol. So decision making is not always the best, and when the police come in, it's usually after the fact. We don't get there when there's 10 people there, we get called when there's 800 people there. Tell me some of the nuances of trying to have people leave the area in a safe manner so that we don't get ourselves into a terrible situation.
Well, and I'll go back just a second if that's okay. We are actually, the Tallahassee Police Department is being very proactive in tapping into some of these social media outlets, finding out before the party gets out of control or before the party even starts. And my squad, other squads that work in similar capacity will make sure we're in the area for hours to keep it from getting out of control, to make contact with the homeowner. Because what we see so many times, if it's in a residential area, is the homeowner will have a party, it will get out on social media, and there'll be hundreds of people that show up and the homeowner has no idea who is even at their house. Again, which leads to a lot of criminal activity and thefts and problems. And then we'll also have the party that's going on, the problems in the street. A lot of times I'll tell the people at the residence when I make contact with them, because they'll say, you know, well, I don't understand what's wrong with having all these people at my house. Well, quality of life issues are huge for the residents of the neighborhood. I tell them to think about with the streets that are blocked. Not only can the cops can't get through to help you out if there's a problem, but what about emergency services? What about the fire department? I mean, they don't think about somebody actually getting sick or you know, having some kind of serious medical problem that they might need EMS to get through. So we have to deal with the streets being blocked. We have to deal with the large crowds and the alcohol, and sometimes even worse, drug activity that's involved. Once we know we can shut down a party, it takes a lot of personnel to come in and make sure that the people are leaving in a safe manner, that there is not the drinking and driving, the DUIs that we have to deal with later, because again, that creates a lot of problems out in the street and in the community, just away from where the party was. Now we have drunk drivers on the street. So there's a lot of things that come into consideration for just the officer on patrol.
Right. And real quickly, we have to wrap up, but we have a new tool that we're using, which is called the Adult Civil Citation. Can you maybe explain exactly what that is real briefly?
Sure. The Adult Civil Citation is an extra tool that we have in our toolbox as an officer. It is something that we can do instead of making arrests and affecting someone's criminal history for the rest of their life. It's a first-time offender and a misdemeanor that we can issue what is an adult civil citation. They go through a program with the early intervention. They get alcohol, drug, anger management programs, anything that's specific to the crime that they've committed. And again, it does not affect their entire life.
Right, they're
they
not
get
gonna
a
go to
second
jail.
chance. Right, they get a second chance.
Right. Very good. Well, I appreciate both of you coming. The Adult Civil Citation Program sounds like a great idea. Keep those people that don't need to be in jail out of jail. And at this point, I'm going to have to say goodbye because we've run out of time. So I appreciate both of you coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back on City Law, City Justice.
It's a career of courage.
It's a career of strength.
It's a career of honor.
It's a career of integrity.
It's a career of pride.
It's a career of commitment.
Character.
Honor.
Courage.
The Florida Department of Corrections. It's a career of courage.
The Florida Department of Transportation is teaming up with the City of Tallahassee to provide its toll-free 511 Traveler Information System. 511 offers real-time traffic reports on all of Florida's interstates, including I-10, toll roads, and other major metropolitan roadways. Travelers can call 511, visit fl511.com, Register for My Florida 511 personalized services or download the free 511 app on iTunes for traffic updates. Twitter users can also get the latest traffic info by following FL511 on Twitter. So buckle up, drive safely, and check 511 for FDOT's real-time traffic information.
Welcome back to City Law, City Justice. In our last segment, we have something a little different for you today. We have two guests who are not police officers, believe it or not. First, we have Ms. Teresa Davis and her attorney, Clint Wallace. Thank you both for coming in today and joining us.
Thank you.
My other guests are usually captive because I can make them come in because I can say, hey, I need you to come to the show. But you guys are here on your own volition. You volunteered to come in.
That's exactly. Right.
So, Ms. Davis, let's start with you. Why do you want to be on our TV show?
Well, it's all about education, as we were talking before. Open house parties can be a serious problem, and especially when there are younger people involved. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge crowd of hundreds of people. Open house parties can consist of just a small amount of people. But when there's alcohol involved, underage drinking, it always ends in a tragedy. Either someone getting killed or someone killing or hurting another person. So we just want to make the community aware that this is a problem and let the parents know that, it
can lead to terrible things.
It very well can.
And can you tell us your story?
I can. My daughter, 18 at the time, was at a home here in town, and they had an open house party. And
large party, small party?
No, actually, it was only about 7 people.
So very
maybe.
Small.
Yes, with an adult present. Of course, the plan was, we're just going to have this party, we're just going to stay here, no big deal. Which, in a way, you can kind of understand a parent going, okay, as long as you guys are here, then we're fine with that. But unfortunately, that night, they didn't stick to the plan. So Taylor left the party that night.
And Taylor is
Is my daughter. Okay. And she was killed.
By a vehicle accident or?
Single car crash, yes.
And was there anybody else in the car at the time of the crash?
No, sir.
Okay, so she decided to leave and drove away.
Drove away.
And she had a single car accident and lost her life.
Yes, sir.
Well, that is a terrible tragedy.
It is.
I'm very sorry to hear that happened to your daughter.
Thank you.
So I think the most important thing is that we make sure people are aware that it doesn't have to be 800 people.
No.
It doesn't have to be 20 people.
No.
Anytime you get together in a group and alcohol is involved, bad things can happen.
Yes, exactly.
Very much so. And Mr. Wallace, you're representing, or you're her attorney, I'm assuming?
I am, and I've been very proud of Teresa. She's taken this tragedy. You can't imagine the pain that she's gone through, and she's using this as an education tool so that hopefully other people don't have to endure what she and her family have had to go through. And we've been very proud of her efforts to do that, and I think she's made a big impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. Coming on this show is certainly a step. And are there any other? I guess I want to ask the question correctly. What other educational avenues have you gone down to make sure that your story and the education is getting out?
Well, I've actually been in contact with some local senators and state representatives, and we're trying to get.
We're trying to strengthen the open house party law. As it currently sits, for a lot of people don't know what the open house party law is, but what it does is it says if you, an adult, allow minors to consume alcohol or drugs in a place that you're in control of, then you can have criminal and civil liabilities for that.
And an adult meaning over the age of?
Currently it's someone over the age of 18.
Okay.
Okay, and there's heightened penalties if the violation of the open house party results in serious bodily injury or death, like it happened in this circumstances. And what we're hoping to do is educate the public on the open house party statute and the dangers of what can happen if you allow minors to drink, and to bring that to the forefront. Okay. A lot of people, the question is, well, I have kids and I've raised them well, but kids make bad decisions sometimes. What if they're at my St. George house and I'm not there, and they have a party? Am I criminally liable for that? And the answer is no. It requires actual knowledge, and that's what it makes it egregious to us. If you have actual knowledge that minors are drinking, you don't take steps to stop it, then unfortunately bad things like this happen.
Right. I mean, it would almost be common sense to say that if your children are under the legal drinking age and you're allowing them to drink in your presence, that you're going to be held liable for that if something terrible occurs. But if you're not there, it's like saying I didn't know, I couldn't possibly know what was going on. I wasn't there, and no one made me aware of the situation.
Exactly.
So, absolutely. And in this case with Taylor, there was somebody who was of age and should have known or did know that this was occurring in their presence.
Exactly.
And then she decided to leave, unfortunately, at that time.
Sir. Mm-hmm.
So, what else can we do to make sure that the community knows how these tragedies can occur?
We're just trying to get the word out. I've spoken to people about going into the schools and talking to the kids there. I've been in contact with a news anchor that is talking to me about maybe putting a story in the Tallahassee Democrat in regards to this. We just want to let it be known that, this is against the law. No matter, we know you think you're doing a good thing by allowing them to do it supervised.
Right. They think they're making the moral decision. That
Right.
I know what's going on. I'm an adult. I can handle this.
Exactly.
They're here with me. I mean, when I was growing up, that was the thought process. That if they're if you're at somebody's house and you're not going anywhere, the whole idea of the key master. When you walk in, you give the person the keys, and then you're allowed to have the party, and no one's going to get hurt. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way.
And it's not always DUIs that we're talking about. I mean, when minors consume alcohol, it can be sexual batteries. It can be, other things happen. There's a reason why minors aren't allowed to drink. It's because they're too inexperienced to know how to enjoy it responsibly.
Absolutely. And at the age of 18, 19, you start to have the responsibilities of becoming an adult, but the unfortunately part that you're not quite ready to have all that alcohol in your system.
Exactly.
Is probably where it ends up going. Well, we are coming to the end of our segment. Is there anything that we have not talked about that you would like the public to know?
Teresa's done a good job as well. She hasn't mentioned the education she's given to the Lincoln High School seniors. She set up a scholarship along with our firm where we award a Lincoln High School senior a scholarship in her daughter's honor every year, and that helps educate it because as part of the process they write an essay and they learn about Taylor and what an amazing person she was, and that's a great thing that Teresa's done.
Well, as a former Lincoln High School teacher, I say thank you for doing that. I was a teacher before I became an officer, and it was at Lincoln. So I do appreciate you you're helping out my old alma mater over there. Anything else? Last words?
Just, parents, just please stop and think. Before you allow this to happen, we know you're doing it with the best of intentions, but plans fall apart, kids waver from the plan, and just so this doesn't happen to anyone else, just please think before you allow this to happen. Just one no can save someone's life.
Very, very true. And I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. I know this was on your own time. Again, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
As you can see, it doesn't matter if the party has 800 people or 7 people. Tragedy can strike at any time. Please take the appropriate steps to make sure your children are safe and that all of us get home safely. We'll see you next time on City Law, City Justice.